Hello there. Oh, there we go. Hello there. Let me just get this tripod there. Good evening and welcome. My name is indeed Alex William Smith, by birth better known to some of you as Jonathan Royle, hypnotist. It's fast approaching 9 p.m, 9 o'clock, 2100 hours British summertime here in England. Which is the advertised time for the weekly Hypnosis Week live broadcast, which is what this is. So hello and welcome. I can see people rapidly joining us, which is fantastic. Good evening to you all. I can also, just for those people who may be joining us for the first time, I need to point out that obviously I'm broadcasting this live on facebook.com/Alex the Hypnotist, and it's that profile where later on I will be answering questions live on this week's topic, which is slow, rapid and instantaneous hypnotic induction techniques. So to briefly recap, this is week 5 of Hypnosis Week. So if you were to go on YouTube and type in Hypnosis Week 1, then you would find the first one we did, which was Hypnosis Does Not Exist, explaining the psychological reasons of how and why hypnosis truly works. If you went on YouTube and typed in week 2, you would find, what did we do on week 2? I think that was, you know what? I'm actually going to type into my computer here so that I'm not lying to you. There's so much going on at the minute that just had a mental block which way round we did it. So Hypnosis Week 2, if you type that into YouTube, you will get week 2's, which was what some people call set pieces. I call them hypnotic suggestibility tests, where we covered how to lock people's hands together, get the fingers together, lock the hands together, and loads of other funky stuff. That video is available on youtube.com by typing in Hypnosis Week 2. If you type into YouTube, as I'm doing right now, Hypnosis Week 3, we do a general refresher on different areas of hypnosis and other random hints and tips that will help people be more successful hypnotists and get more publicity and stuff. If you type in Hypnosis Week 4, you'll find a 2-part video. So that's Hypnosis Week 4, Part 1 and Part 2, which are both on media hypnosis, how the televisions, radio, newspapers and magazines brainwash people, social engineering and mind control, and stuff like that. And that leads us nicely into tonight, right now, live, which is Hypnosis Week number 5. And this week, which is Hypnosis Week number 5, hence all you need to do is go on youtube.com and search Hypnosis Week 1 for how and why hypnosis works, Hypnosis Week 2 for suggestibility test, Hypnosis Week 3 for general advice and marketing, Hypnosis Week 4 for social engineering, mind control and media hypnosis, and tonight's will be, when the broadcast is finished, about 10-15 minutes after, we will also end up on YouTube as Hypnosis Week 5. Fantastic. So, just before we start, because it's now fast approaching 4 minutes past 9 UK time, and loads of people are joining us on my profile. There are currently 16 people. However, on my group there are 28. On one of my other profiles, I can see here, looking down and also looking at my computer there from the corner of my eye, there's another 18 on there. This is going out on every one of my profiles, my pages and my groups. So if you're not watching this live on facebook.com/Alex the Hypnotist, look up just above the video and see the picture of my face where it says Alex William Smith, and click on that to go to my profile, facebook.com/Alex the Hypnotist, because that's where in about half an hour I'll be answering questions live. So I think that's given people fair time to get here. If they get here late, then they'll just have to watch the video from the beginning later on. For those of you who are here, fantastic. Thank you for joining me on time, as advertised on hypnosisweek.com. Before we begin, I'll give you the heads up that this week's special offer of the week is my latest release on rapid and instant inductions, which is almost 12 hours of video footage taken at 2 different live training events, teaching literally dozens of rapid and instant hypnotic induction techniques, including ways of hypnotising people without saying a single word to them. The closest thing to mind control you'll ever see, where you can meet complete strangers and without saying a word to them have them drop to the floor like a sack of shit. All taught in the Rapid and Instant Hypnotic Inductions toolbox. Now that's been on offer to my normal customers at $97 instead of $297. But for you guys and girls, as a reward for being here on hypnosisweek.com, thank you for that. Until midnight next Saturday, because that's when then on the Sunday the new offer starts for next week's broadcast. Until midnight then, you can get 75% off the discounted price that's currently on offer on my website. In other words, you will pay less than $30, less than 30 United States dollars, which is roughly £22 sterling at the moment, for almost 12 hours of cracking clear quality videos teaching you dozens of hypnosis induction techniques. And I guarantee you, any induction you've ever seen used by the likes of myself, Tom Silver, John Sabone, Richard Nongard, Justin Trance, Tom Silver, Shawn Michael Andrews, Igor Luchowski, anyone, you name it, whoever you can think of, I guarantee you will be able to learn how to do the exact same rapid and instant inductions when you study the Rapid and Instant Hypnotic Inductions Toolkit. So, enough of the advert. To get that, just go to hypnosisweek.co.uk. That's hypnosisweek.co.uk. Before next weekend, when the price goes back up, at the moment, you can get it for less than $30. That's around £22 sterling for almost 12 hours of dynamite footage teaching dozens of rapid and instant hypnotic induction techniques. So, let's get cracking. Hypnotic inductions. What is really important with induction techniques is that you have done the previous work in advance, ideally. That makes it even easier. In other words, that you've been advertised and people have come to you as the perceived expert hypnotherapist or whatever title you're using, or they've come to a stage show where they've seen the posters, they paid money for a ticket, and they've come and they've already started to brainwash themselves through the kind of thought process of the fact that they're spending money and investing time and money into this means that surely you must know what you're doing, and therefore that tends to imply that as you are advertised as a hypnotist, you must know how to hypnotise people. So in itself, it's a massive suggestion, and that's already running around in their head. You then use things such as the suggestibility test, which we did on week 2, which you can watch on YouTube by searching Hypnosis Week 2, to get their fingers to come together as though there's magnets on them, or lock their hands together, or lock their eyelids together, so that they genuinely feel something, so that they come to a stage of mind, a state of belief, a matter of perception, where their experience genuinely is that you, the hypnotist, say things to them, so-called suggestions or commands, that they visualise them, and it becomes for them 100% total reality. Because you say to them that in a moment they're going to imagine their eyes are locked, glued together, they visualise turning off the switches, then they genuinely can't open their eyes as taught on week 2, because it's a physical trick, and hey-ho, suddenly their conscious analysis of things, which is enhanced by their critical faculty, analytical area of the brain, is kind of bypassed, because they go, don't need to question this anymore, because you know what? He said my eyes were closed, I visualised it, it became reality. Once they believe what you say will become reality, arguably they are already hypnotised, even though I say hypnosis doesn't exist. But in the context of what we taught on week 1, Hypnosis Week 1, if you search for it in YouTube, in that context, the moment they believe that what you say is the perceived authority figure who knows what they're doing, even if they've only just met you and you've gone, you know, if it was street hypnosis, you go, hi, my name's Jonathan. I'll actually use your name is better, but hi, my name's Jonathan. I'm a hypnotist. Would you like to be hypnotised today? And that quickly, with confidence in the face, it's like, this guy's either a complete nutter or he's a hypnotist because he's just introduced himself, said he's a hypnotist and asked if I want to be hypnotised. So it's about projecting a total confidence as well that what you say will become their reality. Now, other keys to hypnotic inductions, I kind of say there's 4 steps. Step 1, belief and expectancy. Okay, they've got to believe you're a hypnotist. They've got to believe hypnosis. They've got to understand it as a construct. Okay, I've been to countries where they had no idea of it, and I had to teach them what hypnosis was beforehand because they just had no concept of it. Interesting comment there, Peter McConville, but I believe all hypnosis is self-hypnosis. Lost the feed there. If that happens, I'll go quiet for a second and then make sure it's said back on my screen. Yeah, Peter McConville said, I believe all hypnosis is self-hypnosis. In so much as the person ends up deluding themselves that something special's happened, they're in a special state, I'd agree. Otherwise, no, because we facilitate and remove all self-blame, shame, guilt and regret from them in a therapy context for not having made the changes sooner, and on stage we give them the perfect excuse to make an idiot of themselves, because ultimately hypnosis doesn't exist in the way people think it does, as I explained in week 1. But we're not going to get caught up in that tonight, because you can search YouTube for Hypnosis week 1 for that. So you've got to get the belief, you've got to make them expect the next thing you do to work, namely the induction, and that's done with the set piece of the suggestibility test, which we covered on week 2. So you can search Hypnosis week 2 on YouTube if you didn't see it live when it went out a few weeks back. So you build up in them levels of belief and expectancy in therapy. This is done by the diplomas on your wall, your shelf that you would have in your office with kind of loads of books on you behind you that people see, big psychology books that people, without you saying anything, see them and think, wow, he's read all them, he's an academic, he really knows what he's on about these subjects of the mind. Whereas in truth, you just bought a load of second-hand thick psychology books off Amazon or a car boot sale and put them on a shelf behind you so it looks good and acts as a powerful non-verbal suggestion. And let's face it, the diplomas on the wall, you may as well wipe your ass with them, because there is no such thing as a recognised qualification for hypnosis in England or Europe, and to be honest, any of them in the world are only as good as the person issuing them. So all they really are is a perceptional tool to make people see them and think, wow, this person is highly skilled as a hypnotist, which to themselves then is saying this person can hypnotise me. And on stage, that's achieved through your posters. You never see anyone advertised as being the 27th best hypnotist in the world. They're always the world's greatest or Britain's fastest or whatever, because it's got to be that hype. You've got to walk out on stage with confidence. That's where the lighting, the music, every little element is in itself a suggestion to build up that belief and expectancy. And when people have paid a sizable amount of money, the more they paid, the more expensive the therapy session, for example, the more likely they are to expect it to work, because that is the magic of perceived value. And that is why hypnotists who work in theatres or venues where people pay for a ticket rather than just going in and getting pissed in a bar where there might be entertainment on in the background tend to have a far easier show and get more volunteers who end up going under, so to speak, and being responsive, because the people who come paid money to be at a venue have got more of a commitment to it, and their expectancy and belief is already built up. So that's kind of important. Stage 2 is we quite often use techniques of disorientation and confusion. Certainly in rapid and instant inductions we do. Alright, in therapy we can also, what a lot of people term as relax therapy, we can bore them to sleep. But with rapid and instant inductions, we tend to use disorientation and confusion techniques. By the way, keep those questions coming in. I will answer them shortly, so thanks for the people who are putting those questions up there. We'll come to them a little bit later. So disorientation and confusion can take the form of suddenly unexpectedly shouting sleep to somebody when they least expect it. It scares the living crap out of them. When you combine that with putting your hand behind the nape of the neck and pulling them towards you so that their head rests on your shoulder. They get so disorientated what the bloody hell is going on, and also confused by what the heck's going on, that this can arguably bypass the critical faculty analytical area and get what they perceive to be hypnosis. Because it's such a weird feeling, they can't tangibly go, what is it? And you keep going on confidently, so they just naturally fill in the blanks because they know you're a hypnotist, and come to a logical conclusion in a matter of seconds that they're hypnotised, as it were. So as long as that's what they expect and believe, then they will pattern match that in their mind, and that will become their reality, kind of thing. The next step is suggestion and repetition, because suggestion correctly expressed is hypnosis, and people have that stereotypical idea generally of a hypnotist going, the deeper you go, the better you'll feel, and the better you feel, the deeper you go with every breath you take, every noise you hear, and every word I say, acting as a sign and a signal to help you relax, and all that cobblers. So you need to add in a bit of that to tie in with the person's expectations and heighten their belief, so that they will then really buy into it and give up all elements of ever questioning it. So if there was any element of the critical faculty or analytical area still working, it'll just go, you know what, this is what I thought hypnosis would be, screw it, I'll just go with it. Because you know what, in therapy they're paying for a lifestyle change, and on stage, in truth, they're looking for an excuse to make an idiot of themselves, so why should they resist? A couple of people will resist on stage. That's because they think that makes them more of a centre of attention, but then the experienced performer will send them back, making them look a complete dickhead, so that the rest of the people on stage will hear that and think, I don't want to look an idiot like that, it'll just be easier to do what the hypnotist says, at least that way I can go back at the end and say, he or she made me do it, I'm not to blame. And that is what's really going on. Social compliance with stage hypnosis, and with therapy, the fact that you give people an environment for change, permission to change, an excuse to change, and by them coming to you and paying money, which their friends and family can believe and expect, means that the person couldn't do it on their own, removes all self-blame, shame, guilt and regret for them for not having got off their arse and changed their life sooner themselves before, which they could have done. And that should ultimately lead to step 4, relaxation and sleep. Well, relaxation in therapy anyway, it's not going to be on stage, because they're going to be in the heightened awareness of waiting to hear your next suggestion, so they can try and act it out using their powers of intelligence, imagination and concentration effectively to prove that they're not an idiot with no intelligence, imagination or concentration. We kind of put them in that double bind situation as well by using situations such as that. But certainly with rapid and instant inductions, it comes down to the fight and flight response, where in the middle is freeze. Now fight, freeze in the middle, flight over there. Fight and flight, freeze in the middle. The point of this being, remember in caveman days, caveman's out, dinosaur appears. And he's got a choice here. Stop, fight the dinosaur, kill it, take it on for family for tea. Run like the bloody clappers to escape so he don't get killed. Or that moment of, which shall I do? Shall I run? Shall I fight? Shall I run? Shall I fight? And it's that moment where the person feels disorientated, confused. Which shall I do? Go that way, that way. And that split second is that second that hypnotists talk about where the people's eyes arguably glaze over. That moment of confusion and disorientation where you can literally just say, sleep, because that's what they expect. That's their conditioned response. They already have an inbuilt belief, most people, that the word sleep is connected in a finger click to what hypnotists do. So even though it's not necessary, if you do that, sleep, they're more likely to react, because that's the preconceived idea that's ingrained in them from what they've seen on TV and in films. This is why I always say to hypnotherapists, if you get somebody coming to you and who says, you know, you're not going to make me run around like a chicken or bark like a dog, are you? Don't waste time telling them that hypnotherapy is different than stage hypnosis, because you're losing some of your power then. You're effectively saying you're a crap hypnotherapist. What you're better off doing when they ask that question is saying, well, I could make you run around like a dog, or make you, run around like a chicken or bark like a dog, but you've only paid for an hour of my time. And if we do that, there won't be enough time to stop you smoking or help you lose weight, so you'll need to pay me some more money. Would you like to pay me some more money, or would you like to just get on with becoming a confident, happy, healthy, relaxed non-smoker, or removing that fear of lifts you used to have before you came here today? And they will go, either here's some money, do it, in which case if you study my rapid and instant inductions toolbox, which is currently on 70% off discount at hypnosisweek.co.uk for this next week, so you can get it for less than $30, just about £22 for the best rapid and instant hypnotic induction training you'll get anywhere on the web, then you'll be able to do that. Or more likely, to be honest, is they'll say, oh no, let's get on with it, I want to get rid of my phobia, or I want to stop smoking, or I want help with losing weight. But by so doing, you put their mind at rest that you won't make them do that, so it stops them being nervous, but also it's put it into their head that you could do that, that you have the power to do that. So it heightens their belief and expectancy in the therapy working for them as well, because you've not given up your power. You've said, yes, you can do it. Because that's what they're really asking deep down. They don't verbalise it, but what they're asking is, are you as good and as powerful as those stage hypnotists who can click the fingers and make people do things? Because the false logic is, if you can click your fingers and make people run around like a chicken, then of course you can click your fingers and say, you no longer smoke. And in truth, in theory, if the person believes that you can and pays you enough money for your services and truly buys into it and expects it to work and believes it to work, and you go through an important seeming ritualistic process, some call it hypnotic induction, an important seeming ritualistic process, which beforehand you'll have done some kind of suggestibility test, see Hypnosis Week number 2, which is on YouTube, then yes, it can be as simple as that. So, in terms of inductions, let's give you a couple of examples. Example number 1. If you watch Hypnosis Week number 2, so go on YouTube, Hypnosis Week 2, and watch the suggestibility test. On there I taught you how to lock people's hands together so that when they're above the head like that, and pushed up high towards the sky, towards the rainbow, so it's impossible to separate them. Well, the moment they try to separate them and they find their hands are locked, you can, rather than separating them, as we taught in Hypnosis Week 2, you can turn this directly into an induction. So you can go 3, 2, 1 and try and separate your hands. The more you try, the more they stick, keep pushing them high towards the sky, towards the rainbow, and then you walk up to them and you take hold of each of their wrists by standing behind them. So you take hold of each of their wrists. So let's imagine somebody sat here, you walk behind them, you take hold of their wrists, and you stand kind of like that, so you can then lower their arms down in front of their face. So, very difficult to demonstrate this on my own, but I pretend that someone stood behind me and they've just got hold of my wrist, and what's going to happen is, I'm still staring at the back of my hands, and the hypnotist behind me, I'm going to do the words, who's got hold of my wrist, says, this time, when I count backwards from 3 down to 1, on the count of 1, if you've not already closed your eyes, you'll just let your heavy eyelids close down. As on 3, take a nice deep breath in through your nose, and out through your mouth. In through your nose, and out through your mouth. As with every breath you take, every noise you hear, every word I say, and every thought you think, stare at the back of your hands, and as you do, keep following your hands with your eyes. As on 2, the deeper you go, the better you feel, and the better you feel, the deeper you go. With every breath you take, every noise you hear, every word I say, and every thought you think. And on 1, just close your eyes down, let your heavy head fall forward, and slip. And essentially, you turn that directly into an induction by the moment they go, wow, I can't separate my hands, you get hold of their wrists, 1 in each hand, and you slowly lower their hands down in front of them like that, telling them to keep their eyes on the back of their hands, so they will actually be doing that, and you time it so your numbers are such that 3's up here, but by the time you get to number 2, they're looking roughly in front of them like that, and by the time you get to number 1, their hands are in their lap, so they've got to look down with their head, which means they're looking down with their eyes, so it's easier just to close their eyes, and if they haven't, you can, as you're stood behind them, just tap them on the back of the head and say, let your heavy head fall forward, and sleep, with a click of the fingers. Now, because that is pretty impossible for me to demonstrate on my own, do not worry, I've made sure that on YouTube, if you go on YouTube and you type in Jonathan Royle, hands over face, hypnosis induction, you will see me demonstrating that on somebody. So at the end of this broadcast, you can go on YouTube and type in Jonathan, which is Jonathan, and Royle, which is Royle, Jonathan Royle, hands over face hypnosis induction, and there's an 8-minute video where I teach you with close-up broadcast quality camera footage exactly how to turn that guaranteed locked hands we taught on week 2's hypnosis week into a very fast induction that you can use in therapy and also on stage. So another example before we get to questions and answers is that we covered the light and heavy hands test on week 2, where the left hand is palm upwards, the right hand palm downwards, and you imagine tied to the ring finger, letter R, of the right hand, letter R, is a red, letter R, helium balloon, bunch of, that's rising up in the air, letter R, and on the left palm, letter L, is a big pile of leather-bound, letter L, library books, letter L, that's going to make the hand go lower, letter L. And we teach that on Hypnosis Week 2, and now over a period of time, the hands will separate, and you can get them to open their eyes, see the gap, and go, wow, he suggests things to me, and it becomes reality. But what you can do is turn that into an induction, okay? What you can do is when the hands get to that gap, it's kind of the gap, you can say, okay, I'm just talking to you, the person I'm touching on the shoulder now, if it's on stage, or you could say I'm talking to everybody on stage, or if it's therapy, you know it's just the one person there, you say, talking to you, keep your eyes closed unless I say otherwise, but I'm going to count to 3. On the count of 3, I want you to open your eyes, see the gap, see how wonderfully you've used your powers of intelligence, imagination and concentration, and then close your eyes back down. So they will open their eyes, see that, and then close them, and in their head they'll think, wow, he or she suggested stuff to me, I visualised it, it became reality. And then before they get time to analyse it too much, you start talking again and you say, that's brilliant, continue breathing deeply and regularly in through your nose and then out through your mouth. And this time I'm going to count very rapidly from 3 down to 1. On the count of 1, I'm going to cut the strings on the big bunch of balloons connected to your right hand. And the very moment, the very second, the very instant I do, your right hand's going to become as heavy as a loose limp rag doll, and just going to drop down into your lap, and the very moment, the very second it hits your lap, it will be a sign and a signal for every nerve, fibre, tissue and muscle in your body, from the tips of your toes to the tips of your fingers, to become so limp, so loose, so relaxed, so heavy and so tired. Nod your head if you understand. Great phrase. Deciphered, it means, are you going to do what I say to you on a stage show so you know you can't fail, and in therapy it makes sure that they've just understood you. So nod your head if you understand, they nod, and you go 3, deeper and deeper, 2, 1, you waffle whatever crap, but when you get to number 1, because they're kind of sat there like this, when you get to number 1, you literally go up to their hand and you mime, but by touching their fingers, cutting the, so you might verbally, I'll do it like this, okay? So 3, 2, and on 1, I just cut the, I'm going to cut the thread right now. And what I do is, I mime cutting it, but I touch their hand, and I literally push downwards on their hand, so it already starts its journey down into their lap. And they've already then been conditioned that the moment this hits their lap, it means they have to relax more. Also, that movement of that falling down makes the other hand go and makes their body kind of slouch forward into that stereotypical hypnotised sleep forward kind of fetal position, which is kind of a non-verbal inbuilt conditioned response we have of safety as a baby and of sleep, because people tend to sleep in that position. So you could say that's a non-verbal suggestion in itself. Again, practically impossible for me to demonstrate really clearly on here, so don't worry. If you go on YouTube and you type in Jonathan Royle, light and heavy hands, hypnosis induction, so that's Jonathan Royle, light and heavy hands, hypnosis induction, you will find a 3.5 minute long video where I demonstrate this and teach you exactly how to turn it into a hypnotic induction. But effectively, once they've got the gap, get them to open their eyes, see it, but you've already told them to close them, and then you suggest to them that in a minute, when they feel you touch their hand, it's going to be you cutting the string, and when you apparently just cut the string, what they didn't expect, which will be disorientating and confusing to them, is to feel their hand kind of forced downwards. They were told it will fall into their lap, but they weren't expecting that you're going to set it on its journey. So all this happened so quickly, combined with you clicking your fingers by the ears and going, sleep, in that authoritative, loud, strict, commanding tone, that it all combines together to a sensory overload state where the critical faculty and analytical area is bypassed, and arguably you're directly into the unconscious, subconscious, call it what you will, and they are hypnotised. Now, I'm just looking at my notes here. We've covered, yeah, I mean, James Braid, I've got a note here, he had people look at a shiny object, because they say that fixation of attention on one thing to the exclusion of everything else narrows the person's focus down, so that when the person's focused on one thing and really absorbed, that arguably is a trance state, is hypnosis. If you want to believe that, that's great. I believe there's only two states of hypnosis, cooperative and uncooperative. Simple as that, but nonetheless, it doesn't harm to use every trick in the book, because if there is any truth in it, then at least the law of averages is stacked in your favour. Which is why I'll even use embedded commands, despite the fact that I don't particularly hold much credence in them. So I will use phrases like, you know, I'm talking to everyone on the stage. This is perhaps when I'm doing a deepener, which is rubbish. It's just a time-killing exercise to make sure they're compliant, because they're either are compliant or they're not, but it helps to kill time on stage. But I might say something like, as you relax more in your chair, I don't know if you want to go into a trance now or in a few moments' time, but go into a trance you will all the same. And as you see, when I said go into a trance, I raised the voice slightly, so the brain perceives it as a separate sentence on one level, but as a whole sentence in the other, so arguably it becomes an embedded subvocal command of go into a trance. So I don't know if you want to go into a trance now or in a few moments' time, but go into a trance you will all the same, type thing. And then a bit later I might say, you know, when I say that they're hypnotised, I'm talking to your unconscious now, so they can perceive it as I'm talking to your unconscious mind. But because we've said your unconscious now slightly louder, it can act as a hypnotic command. That's what some people think. Peter McConville, but is that not also a bind? If you want to give it a fancy name, arguably maybe it is. You know, at the end of the day, what it certainly is, bind is merely a winky-wanky word, no disrespect, for putting them in a position where they don't have much choice. And as at the start of all this, if you've done as we advise on Hypnosis Week 2, then they will be in that position, bind, double bind, triple bind, multiple bind, call it what you will, because you will have made it clear that this will only work for them if they use their powers of intelligence, imagination and concentration effectively. Just so long as you use your powers of intelligence, imagination and concentration effectively, then this will be completely successful for you. So in therapy, what you've kind of said is they'd waste the £500, $800 coming to see you if they don't do as you say. And on stage, you're kind of saying, although you're doing it in a coded manner, if you want to be a star tonight and have the perfect excuse to make an idiot of yourself, do what I say, otherwise I'll make you look a complete dickhead. Is the truth of the matter, really. But to really understand the truth of what I've just put in a nutshell there, if you didn't see it, look at Hypnosis Week 1 by going on YouTube and searching for Hypnosis Week 1. Okay, in a moment I'm going to show you the purpose of that. Oh yes, I blinded you all at home, sorry. And this. These are what we call hypnotrons. And this one in particular is ergonomically designed. We'll explain what they're for in a minute. These are something that was stumbled upon, kind of, well, not by accident. What it is Delavar, whose family, I've spoke about Delavar in previous editions, or if you go on YouTube and type in why hypnotherapists or stage hypnotists big time, you'll find the two-part video I did on the true history of stage hypnosis and hypnotherapy, where Delavar and also members of his family who used the name Delarue, D-E-L-A-R-O-U-E, who were for several generations spiritualists, mesmerists, hypnotherapists, suggestive therapy, call them what you will, his family were for several generations. In his book, The Hypnotist Bible, which you'll find on my website, he which is magicalguru.com, by the way, and then you can click on the shop. He mentions how lights, if they go at a pulse rate, or just slower than a pulse rate, will, when somebody stares at them, slow down their pulse rate and make them end up feeling more relaxed rapidly and disorientated and confused, and thus help promote hypnosis. If you tie in the fact you know that will happen with saying things that suggest that they will start to feel lightheaded, so that when they genuinely feel lightheaded, they will think it's because of what you've said, rather than attributing it to this flashing lights that they won't understand where they're coming from anyway, because their eyes are closed at the time and they saw your hands were empty beforehand. So what he suggested to get was one of these bicycle lights, red ones you get at the back. Take it to someone who's good with electronics and get them to slow down the blinking rate on it to just below pulse level. And indeed, a colleague of mine, Peter J. Fox, did that in the early 90s, and we went out into Manchester with his Hypnotron, as I later called it, and you could palm it in the palm of his hand, and he'd do the falling backwards induction where you got somebody to stand up, and they were stood there. Here's a mime person, so feet together, invisible person, hands by your side, tilt your head well back, close your eyes and take a nice deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth and so on. But he'd have palmed this light into his hand, so it'd be over their face as he pulled their head back, and then he'd flick the switch at the top and it'd start, no one could see it because all the light was directed towards their face, and it'd start pulsating, and that light on their eyelids pulsating really disorientated and confused them. Now, obviously, use this entirely at your own risk, because remember, this could set off people who've got photosensitive or light-sensitive epilepsy. So therefore, there are potential dangers to that. Flashing light jobby. But I'm just mentioning it for educational purposes here. But it definitely did work. 2009, I was at Blackpool Magic Convention, and we saw a clip-on finger light LED thing. It had a little strap. And a little light. They sell them in B&M bargains in England, or if you type in clip-on finger light in eBay, you can see them. Just basically one LED on a little plastic thing that you can press the button and it turns on and flashes, and press it and turn off. And again, that could be palmed and used. But then in more recent times, I saw these. Now, you can find these on eBay by typing in clip-on, mini clip-on spotlight. And they've got a clip on them. And so you can clip them on to your clothing, okay, and you can position them and stuff and turn them on, which then gives you a nice area if you're in a dark nightclub doing card tricks. If it's a dim nightclub, it puts a spotlight on your hands and you can do your card magic. That's a use for magicians who may be watching this, but that's not the use that we're talking about really here. What we're talking about is that you can unclip that from the clip, like that, it pulls off. And now it's ergonomically designed, it's beautiful, because it's shaped such that we can hold that in our hand like that. Yeah, show that to the camera, like that. And we've got a nice ball there at the top to hold it and palm it easily. And it's now hidden behind our hand. And we've got finger flexible movement, so we can go up to someone and go, tilt your head well back and whatnot, as is used in the postural sway or falling backwards induction, where stage hypnotists make people fall backwards into their arms. Which, incidentally, if you go on YouTube and type in Jonathan Royle, falling backwards induction, you will find a video teaching that step by step, where I demonstrate it on someone. So I tell you where to put your fingers, where to tap them on the back and all that, okay? So you can learn that and then add in your Hypnotron if you so desire. Now the beautiful thing is, this is held like that. I can come back here with my fingers and push. This is the base that turns it on and off, okay? I can push it back against the fleshy bit of my hand, and it's now switched on, as you can see, from my view, but from the front, you wouldn't know, okay? Now, I can also hide that with my other fingers if I wanted. But the very second I release that finger, boom, bright light. Now, it's bright light and you think, well, people would see that, but it's all directed at this person up here on stage. Or even close up. Even if you're close up, the point is, you've got this, nobody knows it exists, you've got it out of your pocket when no one's looking. the person here, you've gone, so you can have this in your pocket, let's say. We'll just put it on the table. You do your head back, eyes closed and all this, like you'll see on the video called Jonathan Royle Falling Backwards Induction on YouTube. And then, as you've got them in that position, you can use their body, they're stood in front of you, you're behind them. You can blatantly go in your pocket and get this in position. You can then, behind their back, you can flick that against your hand so it's switched on and hide it with your fingers. But when you bring your hand into view near their head, which can come above their head, the audience aren't really going to notice that. You're blocking most of the light out. You come over their eyes and boom! It's literally like that, on, off. And the moment you push backwards, it's off. So they get a flash of light and off it goes, and you can ditch it, and they get this sudden boom of light in their eyes with their eyelids closed, and they wonder what the heck's that, and that's the same time you time it with going sleep. All of that together really causes a massive amount of disorientation and confusion, and people drop like sacks of spud. But as I say again, entirely at your own risk, make sure you're given disclaimers not to participate or take part if they suffer from any form of epilepsy. Today, interestingly, I was in town and in a shop called Pound World here in England. I found these. I'm sure you could probably find them on eBay. They were called mini bullet torches, and they are, to put it in perspective, that's the mini clip-on spotlights, and that's the mini bullet torch, which has a button on the bottom there, and you can hide that in your hand, you can palm it, you could even cover that in plasters if you wanted, so it was flesh coloured. You could do the same with the spotlight if you were paranoid, but if you hold it the way I said, no one will ever know it exists. That can be in your hand, the bullet torch. I probably would hold it kind of like that, because you're then going to want to hold it in your fingers like that when you need to be able to turn the bloody thing on, as and when you need it and off. Bit of practice with that. I haven't really practiced with that yet, because I've only just got it today, but it's an idea for your mini bullet torches. But certainly far more user-friendly until we get used to it is that, which has got the holding device. One movement puts it on, they get a flash of light, and immediately we push back on it, which pushes it against the hand, and the fingers can go forward again and it's off. So it's just that split second of boom, boom, off, combined with sleep, and really heightens the disorientation and confusion. And believe it or not, I kid you not,